Did Jesus Christ ever claim to be God? I mean, did Jesus ever say, I am God? Did he ever use those exact words in a conversation in front of a single individual or a group of disciples or an audience? Did he ever say, I am God? Well, he never used those exact words, but Jesus Christ did make the claim in ways his hearers would understand. For example, in John 10, at the end of this conversation that he had had with his disciples and with many of the Pharisees of the day that were in the crowd, he made this bold proclamation, I and the Father are one. Now, in this bold proclamation, Jesus Christ claimed equality with the Father. Now, no other human being had ever made that claim on planet Earth. But here was Jesus from Nazareth saying in his own voice that he and the Father are one. He was claiming equality with God. Now, on my table I have a stone, and I got this stone out of our front yard. And this stone is something that was used in the time of Jesus to mete out punishment for violation of the Mosaic covenant. And blasphemy, using the Lord's name in vain, was a stonable offense. Now, when the Jews heard Jesus' claim that I and the Father are one, here's their reaction. Now, the Jews picked up stones again to stone him. And it's not for a good work, they said, that we are going to stone you, but for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, just a human being like you, like all of us standing here today. You, just a mere man, make yourself God. That was the statement Jesus was making. He was making himself God. He was saying in very clear, understandable terms to those who were listening that he indeed was God in human flesh. Now, in Leviticus, we see the directive in the law about blasphemy. It comes from Leviticus 24:16, and it says this, anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be stoned to death by the whole community of Israel. So it's no wonder the Jews picked up stones to stone him at that outlandish, scandalous phrase, I and the Father are one. But this wasn't the only time Jesus said something of that sort. Back in John chapter 8, he's having another conversation with the Pharisees, and he concludes this with this just incredible statement. Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Now, the Jews knew exactly what Jesus was talking about. Why? Because I am is the name of God. When Moses met with God in the burning bush, and God mandated or put his hands on Moses and said, you're the guy to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt. And Moses was all worried and frightened and scared. And he wanted some validation, and he said, who am I to say to the people has sent me? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. So what was the name of God? I am. And Jesus Christ, in this conversation with the Pharisees, claimed that for himself. That just as God the Father in the Old Testament explained his name as I am, I in the New Testament am explaining that I and the Father are one. Now, Jesus claimed to be the I am. What happened with the Pharisees? So they picked up stones to throw at him. Why? Because he was committing blasphemy. He was claiming to be equal with the Father. Now, this final story is one of my favorites, and it's about the paralytic. And the four friends, they brought their paralytic friend to Jesus in hopes for him to be healed. They couldn't get into the house, so they went up on the roof and they moved all the thatch away so that they could lower their friend down in front of Jesus. And that's exactly what they did. And when Jesus saw their great faith, he looked at the paralytic and he said this, "My son, your sins are forgiven." Now, why is that such a bold, radical statement? Well, the Jews knew one thing and one thing only about forgiveness, that only God has the authority to forgive sins. And yet Jesus Christ himself was claiming that very authority. Now the Jews heard him loud and clear. Why does this man speak like that? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone? They knew exactly what Jesus was claiming about himself in that phrase, "My son, your sins are forgiven." They knew he was claiming to have the same authority that God the Father had concerning sins, that he could actually forgive sins just as God the Father could. Again, he was claiming to be equal with God the Father. So Jesus' claims were clear. They were coming through loud and clear to the people who heard them. No, he never said, "I am God," but he said it in such a way, he made claims about himself in such a way that what he was saying is undeniable. And that's why in John 5:18 we read this, "This is why the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God." They heard him loud and clear. Why is this so important? Why do we need to come to grips with the fact that Jesus is God? Well, because if Jesus is a mere man, then all the things that he has promised us, we're going to be suspicious of. Can he actually deliver on those promises? But if we understand that he is God in human flesh, then we can put our full confidence of trust, our full weight of faith in him. Why? Because he has done for us what we cannot do for ourselves. Now, the religious leaders tabbed Jesus as a liar and an imposter, but what about you? What do you say about Jesus? That's the most important question that you will ever ask and answer in your life. What do you say about Jesus Christ? He made the claim that he is God. If you believe that, then you can open up your heart and see what Jesus has actually come to bring you. And here's one of the greatest truths that Jesus came to bring you. He came to make his Father known to you. We had no earthly idea what God was like until we looked into the face of Jesus. We had no idea what God thought about us until we looked into the face of Jesus. If we've seen Jesus, we have seen God the Father. And when we look at Jesus, we see that he's not a man that we need to pick up stones to stone because he's committing blasphemy. No, we look at a man who truly is God in human flesh, one whom we can bow down and worship and open our hearts to and receive him into our very lives. And when we do, we can understand that God truly loves us, that God truly cares for us, that God desires for us more than anything else to have new life, forgiveness, and freedom in him. And it's all because Jesus became God in human flesh to make God the Father known to you and me.